Hello! Today we're reading You're a Bad Man, Mr. Gum. Chapter 1 The Garden of Mr. Gum. Mr. Gum was a fierce old man with a red beard and two bloodshot eyes that stared out of you like an octopus curled up in a bad cave. Ugh. He was a complete horror who hated children, animals, fun, and corn on the cob. What's wrong with children, animals, fun, and corn on the cob? What he liked was snoozing in bed all day, being lonely and scowling at things. But if he liked being lonely, he's not really lonely, is he? He slept and scowled and picked his nose and ate it. Ew! Most of the townsfolk in the Monarch Bibber avoided him, and the children were terrified of him. Their mothers would say, "Go to bed when I tell you, or Mr. Gum will come out and shout at your toys and leave slime on your books." That usually did the trick. Wait, does Mr. Gum shout at your toys and leave slime on your books? I don't want him putting slime on my books. Mr. Gum lived in a great big house in the middle of town. Actually, it wasn't that great because he had turned it into a disgusting pigsty. The rooms were filled with junk and pizza boxes. Empty milk bottles lay around like wounded soldiers in the war against milk. And there were old newspapers from years and years ago with headlines like "Vikings invade Britain" and "World's first newspaper invented today." Insects lived in the kitchen cupboards, but not just small insects, but great big ones with faces and names and jobs. Jobs? What do they work as? Mr. Gum's bedroom was absolutely grimsters. The wardrobes contained so much mold and old cheese that there was hardly any room for his moth-eaten clothes, and the bed was never made. I don't mean that the duvet was never put back on the bed. I meant the bed had never ever even been made. So it's just a mattress. Mr. Gum hadn't gone to the bother of assembling it. Just chucked all the bits of wood on the floor and dumped a mattress on top. There was broken glass in the windows, and the ancient carpet was the color of unhappiness and smelled like a toilet. Anyway, I could be all Jake going on about Mr. Gum's house, but I think you've got the idea. Mr. Gum was an absolute lazy who couldn't be bothered with niceness and tidying and brushing his teeth, or anyone else's teeth for that matter. But, and as you can see, it's a big but, he was always extremely careful to keep his garden tidy. In fact, Mr. Gum kept his garden so tiny that it was the prettiest, greenest, floweriest, gardeniest garden in the whole of the Monarch Bibber. Here's how amazing it was. Think of a number between 1 and 10. Think of a number between 1 and 10. I'll do 6. Multiply that number by 5, 30. Add on 350, 380. Take away 11, 369. Throw those numbers away now. Think of an amazing garden. So what's the point of making us think of numbers if you're just gonna say throw all those numbers away and now think of an amazing garden? Whatever number you started with, you should now be thinking of an amazing garden. Yeah, because you said think of an amazing garden. And that's how amazing Mr. Gum's garden was. So it's an amazing garden then. So you're just saying it's an amazing garden. In spring, it was bursting with crocuses and daffodils. In summer, there were roses, sunflowers, and those little blue ones. What are they called again? No, the blue ones. They look a bit like dinosaurs. Bluebells? Anyway, there were tons of them. In autumn, the leaves from the big oak tree were covered the lawn. It glowed like a gigantic leafy robot. In winter, it was winter. No one in town could understand how Gum's garden could be so pretty, greeny, flowery, and gardeny, and his house was such a filthy tip. I'm not sure. Yeah, why does he even bother doing gardening if his house is such a big wreck? Maybe he likes gardening, said Jonathan Ripples, the fattest man in town. Perhaps he's trying to win a garden contest, said the little girl called Peter. I reckon he just quite likes gardening, said Martin Laundrette, who ran the laundrette. Oi, that was my idea, said Jonathan Ripples. No, it wasn't, said Martin Laundrette. You can't prove it, fatso! In fact, they were all wrong. The real reason was this. Mr. Gum had to keep his garden tidy because otherwise an angry fairy would appear in his bathtub and start whacking him with a frying pan. You see, there is always a simple explanation for things. An angry fairy whacking him with a frying pan. Why? Mr. Gum hated the fairy, couldn't work out how to get rid of it. So his only choice was to do the gardening or it was pan wax. So life went on in the peaceful town of Lonic. Everyone got on with their business, and Mr. Gum snoozed the days away in his dirty house. Lots of gardening he didn't want to do. And nothing much ever happened, and the sun went down over the mountains. The end. Sorry, I nearly forgot. Something did happen once. That's what the story's about. I do apologize, but what was it? Of course. How could I be so stupid? It was that massive whopper of a dog. How on earth could I forget about him? Right then, one day a massive whopper of a dog. Actually, I think we better have a new chapter. Sorry about this, everyone. Chapter 2. A massive whopper of a dog. One day, a massive whopper of a dog came to live on the outskirts of town. Where did he come from? Nobody knows. What strange things had he seen? Nobody knows. What was his name? Everybody knows. It was Jake the dog. He was a furry wobbler and friendly as toast, and he soon made himself very popular. He would often come to town to play with the children and give them rides on his enormous broad back. No matter how many children wanted to laugh on him, he never grew tired. He was just that sort of dog. Those person who would have been a king, or at the very least a racing driver with a cool helmet. Or perhaps he would have been a gardener because Jake the dog loved nothing more than playing in the gardens. He enjoyed rolling his big doggy body around on a springy green lawn. What it felt like, generally it felt like a lawn. Picking up the flowers in his big doggy mouth to see what they tasted like. Generally they tasted like flowers. He looked so happy that no one really minded his messy visits. In fact, a rumor became if Jake the dog visited your garden, it meant you were in for some good luck. And if he left a little gift on the lawn, you were in for double good luck, and maybe even a telegram from the Queen. So the townsfolk started to leave pies and bones out on their lawns to tempt Jake into their garden. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes not. Mostly he played where he liked and when he liked. He was a free spirit, like Robin Hood or the Man in the Moon or something. I don't know. He was just a dog after all. All summer long, Jake played, and everything was fine till the fateful day he discovered the garden he'd never played in before. It was the prettiest, greenest, floweriest, garden in the whole of Lamonic Bibba. Oh no! Mr. Gum's garden! He can't go in there! On that fateful day, Mr. Gum was snoozing away in his unmade bed. I told you he was a laser, and that's what lasers do. He dreamed his favorite dream, the one where he was terrorizing the townsfolk. His enormous bloodshot eyes flashed evilly like flying saucers high up in the clouds as he smashed the roofs of houses to steal toys from the children's bedrooms. Nobody could stop him. He was the biggest and the best. He was... Whack! For a moment, Mr. Gum did not know what was happening. Where were the tiny houses? Where were the frightened people? Where were the... Whack! Ow! Yelled Mr. Gum, rubbing his head and looking around in terror. Oh no! He rasped. The angry fairy was hovering over him, frying pan at the ready. Sort out the garden, you lazy snorer! Yelled the fairy, and down came the frying pan. Oh no. Mr. Gum was too fast this time and shot out of bed like a guilty onion. went the frying pan as it hit the bed covers. Up a little cloud of dust and ants. Ew. Mr. Gum legged it out of the bedroom and went hurtling down the stairs. He slept on an old slice of pizza lying in the hall and skidded into the kitchen, riding it like a cheese and tomato surfboard. The fairy right behind him, shrieking with fury. I have done nothing wrong. I kept the flippin' garden tidy, shouted Mr. Gum as he flung open the door and ran outside. Something else, but when he saw the garden, the words got stuck in his throat. They tasted horrible. The garden was not tidy. The garden was a total wreck. The lawn was stuffed up and torn. The flower beds were trampled into. Rose petals and sunflower heads lay scattered all over the place like rose petals and sunflower heads. Something lying on the oak tree that Mr. Gum did not even want to think about. Center of the wreckage played the most monstrous dog Mr. Gum had ever seen. It was Jake, of course. The beast was rolling around in his own fun, his golden brown fur matted with grasses, his happy eyes squinting into the sunshine. It was Jake, of course. The beast was rolling around in his own fun, his golden brown fur matted with grass, his happy eyes squinting into the sunshine. Before Mr. Gum's disbelieving eyes, 9 moles popped out of their holes and joined the party. The 2 smallest ones began bouncing up and down on Jake's furry belly and doing somersaults. The rest of them chased each other in circles or had races. Whack! The pan came down on Mr. Gum's head faster than Superman. Splat! Splap! The pan whipped him on one on the bottom. Boing! A flat one to the belly. Boing! A fat one to the belly. Mr. Gum doubled up in pain and tripled up in fear as the fairy raged. It ain't my fault, he yelled. I ain't never seen that dog before. I don't care whose bash fault it is. It's your splurk. Jump to do the gardening break, you stupid trouser face. Mr. Gum flung himself down on the grass and lay there whimpering, his eyes shut tight in unbraveness. Jack, on the other hand, was having a brilliant time. But then a cloud shaped a bit like a bone drifted by. With a hungry bark, Jack ran off to chase it. Watched as the dog bounced over the fence and disappeared off to who knows where. The moles raced back to their mole holes at the speed of moles, because they're moles. As suddenly as it had begun, the terror was over. The terror was over. Mr. Gum spent all afternoon repairing the damage. The fairy watched over him, scowling and brandishing the frying pan dangerously to hurry him on. The garden was back to normal, and at one last whack, for good measure, the fairy flew back to the bathtub and vanished. Mr. Gum breathed a sigh of relief and tried to find he had missed his favourite TV show, Bag of Sticks, which was a picture of a bag of sticks for half an hour. Mr. Gum was the only person in the country who ever watched Bag of Sticks. Everyone else turned over to watch Fun Times with Kid Crispy. That dog ought to be given a meddling medal. He's such a meddler, muttered Mr. Gum. I hope that's the last of him. But it wasn't the last of Jake. It was the beginning. Jake's big doggy brain could not stop thinking about that amazing garden. The next day he returned with much the same result as before. After that, and the day after that, but not the day after that, because it was a Wednesday, and everyone knows dogs have the day off on Wednesdays. But on Thursday, you should have seen him. He was back with a vengeance. Every day, apart from Wednesdays, it was the same story. That massive whopper of a dog would come bouncing over the fence, romping around like an uncontrollable doctor, sometimes leaving his little gifts, as was only natural. Mr. Gum would run out into the garden patch, shaking a fist on the end of a stick to frighten him off, but he could never catch him. He could just bark like a cheeky schoolboy doing an impression of a dog barking. Then he'd bounce over the spiky fence, disappear off to who knows where. 3 weeks later, Mr. Gum was covered in frying pan-shaped bruises. Missed 10 episodes of Bag of Sticks. It was time for action. Nasty action. It's time for action, said Mr. Gum to no one in particular. Nasty action. Nobody in particular shrugged his shoulders and wandered off to eat his dinner. Mr. Gum went to the shed and got out his thinking cap. He put it on his knee. It was a kneecap. Oh, and started thinking of how to get rid of that dog. Chapter 3. Mr. Gum lays his plans like the horror he is. The next morning, Mr. Gum was in the butcher's shop. The butcher was a scrawny old man called Billy William III, and no one knew what the third bit meant. I reckon he was in prison when he was younger, and his number was 3, said Jonathan Ripples, the fattest man in town. Maybe it's because he's the third nastiest person in town, said the little girl called Peter. Tell you what I think, said Martin Laundrette, who ran the laundrette. When he was a young man, he was probably in prison. Hey, said Jonathan Ripples, stop stealing my ideas. Shut up, said Martin Laundrette. Why don't you go on a diet? Of course, Billy William III had his own theory. It's because I'm actually royalty, he would tell anyone foolish enough to listen. I'm third in line for the throne of England after them other geezers. He always pronounced England this way. Other words he said funny were hospital, fountain, and funny. No one believed William III's story about being royalty except for Billy William III. And even he didn't believe it most of the time. But he enjoyed lying. It made him laugh. Not a nice laugh that like you and I would do, but a sneaky old laugh in the inside when nobody else could see. Anyway, forget it. The most important thing, Mr. Gum had gone to old B.W. III butcher shop, which was called Billy William III's Right Royal Meats, to buy the biggest load of meat he could get his angry hands on. He had a plan. I've got a plan, he told Billy William. Next time that whopper dog comes up playing on my lawn, well, he better watch out, that's all. My plan is the best. Are you gonna be laying down all that meat and poison? So when the barking fatty eats it, he'll fall down dead, guessed Billy William. Maybe I am, said Mr. Gubb, a little annoyed that the butcher guessed his plan so quickly. Been looking forward to explaining it in detail and impressing Billy William with his cleverness and bad heart. Talking of bad heart, said the butcher, here's 3 pounds of it. See out in the sunset last Tuesday. That ought to poison him, and no mistake, Mr. Gum, me old slipper. Why'd you leave it sitting out in the sun? Said Mr. Gum, taking the horrible sloppy bag with the disgusting butcher. I like watching the flies go mad over it, laughed Billy William. They're funty. See, that was how he pronounced the word funny. The funniest sight in all of England. I laughed so hard I nearly had to go to the hospital. Well, thank you, me old gobbler, said Mr. Gum, handing over some money that Billy William later discovered to be made out of lies and broken promises. And with that, he left the shop. Out in the high street, Mr. Gum remembered he hadn't been nasty to anyone for over 10 minutes. That's good. He looked around for any children who might be playing or just walking or anything. It didn't matter what they were doing. Reading a book would be fine. Just some children he could be nasty to. None to be seen, so he went and bought a newspaper. He opened it up and a photo of a 10-year-old boy who just won World Record Cup Award for secret burping. This will do nicely. He scowled at the photograph all the way home, hardly even looking where he was going, when he tripped over a stone. Made him feel like the burper was somehow beating him, but that only made him scowl harder than ever. So you see, I've won again. Proud smile, which he quickly turned back into a scowl. Back home, Mr. Gum locked all the doors and windows, even the broken ones. Then he sat down to think about the old tailor's chest which stood in the front hall. It was a beautiful old thing made of mahogany, which is a type of wood called mahogany, and it was carved all over with amazing scenes of life at sea, engraved in whales and tall ships. Mr. Gum had owned the sailor's chest for over 40 years, but he had never once taken the time to appreciate its beauty. That's sad. It went to waste. What's more, Mr. Gum wanted to open that beautiful chest and see what's inside. Had he done so, it might have been a very different story indeed. It might have been Mr. Gum's chocolatey adventure, because I'll tell you something. The old chest had once belonged to a sailor called Nathaniel's surname. Surname is surname? The hero of the high seas. One Tuesday, long ago, he had saved a Spanish village from being destroyed by a terrible pirate called Kevin. As a prize, the villagers presented Nathaniel with the chest, which is completely stuffed full with chocolate. Chocolate, mind you, but special chocolate made by the dolphins of the region. And with it, And it might just be legend, but it was magic chocolate with fantastic powers. And they always whispered it when they said it, which is why it's written so small. And just ended up in Mr. Gum's house and nobody knows. There it had stood for over 40 years, unloved and unopened. As a result, the Gum had never discovered Nathaniel's sugary treasure. It just goes to prove that angry people always miss out on their rewards. So busy sniping and griping and never see the good things around them. You've got to have eyes for the lovely things in life. If you've only got eyes for the horror and the bad, how you gonna get? I said, how you gonna get? I said, how you gonna get the chocolate you deserve? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, you got to have eyes for the amazing joy and stuff. If you only got eyes for all walnuts filled with spit, how you gonna get? I said, how you gonna get? Tell me how you gonna get chocolate you deserve? Yeah, 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 yeah. Guitar solo. Yeah, 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 yeah. So was that Mr. Gum found himself singing on a sailor's fortune, what may have been magic chocolate in terrible ignorance hatching evil. How do I know if these cow hearts are going to be rotten enough? He asked himself presently. Better try using one myself. If it kills me, then I'll know it's rotten enough to use on that big buffer. Cow's heart and opened his mouth wide. Oh! Is he going to kill himself? It's one of the craftiest ideas I've ever done. He chuckled, raising the smelly greenish red meat to his lips. A very clever man. He was just about to take a bite when he realized that might not be such a clever idea at all. Yeah, because he's going to kill himself. He put the heart back into the bag and scratched his beard. The beard that grew on the chin, but a spare one that grew on the wall, could use for scratching at time to time. It had soaked the old heart in rat poison, just to be sure. He can't fail, he cackled old doggers and prize when he won't like it all. Chapter 4. Mr. Gum had a cup of tea. Is that it? Chapter 5. Jammy, Grammy, Lammy, for hupper, Berlin, stereo, leb, kyep, mnemonica, the stray peck, the grespin, the crespin, the spespin, the vespin, the whoop-de-loop, the bronco, Merry Christmas, le noir. The next morning, Mr. Gum inspected the cow hearts. They'd been soaking all night in rat poison. Good and proper, dangerous to dogs now. Of a foul smell even worse than before. That blibbering dog will be smelling this bad smelling with the animal instincts of animals who refuse to eat them. The crafty old man scries the smell with something nice. Mr. Gum looked in his kitchen cupboards, but was there anything nice in there? Of course there wasn't. Could find was a rotten turnip, a dried up mushroom, a sock full of stale crisps. In a filthy mood as he walked along muttering to himself, "Shabba me whiskers," he muttered. Who'd have thought poisoning that stupid whopper dog could be such hard work? What a bother it all is. Then a little girl was playing in the hedge and Mr. Gum walked by and she heard what he said and grew alarmed. What's old Mr. Gum up to now with the talk of poisoning whopper dogs? What whopper dog can he mean? She ran through a list of all the whopper dogs that she knew. Taking not long because she only knew one. Jake, that big lovable gold hand. No, she cried. No, I won't let it happen. I love that dog. Watch out, 'cause it's true. I love him, and what's more, that dog saved my life once, and now I'm gonna stand by. And now I'm not gonna stand playing in the hedge while that old grizzler flip and poisons him to death and destruction. No way, says I. I'll stop him. That's what I'll do. This little girl's name was Jammy, Grammy, Lammy, for hupper, Berlin, stereo, leb, kyep, mnemonica, le stray peck, the grespin, the crespin, the spespin, the vespin, the whoop-de-loop, the Bronco Merry Christmas Lenoir, but her friends just called her Polly. So she has She has 29 middle names. Wow. Combined now, whether or not you're her friend, I think that she will be my friend. What about you? But if you are not, then every time you see the name Polly in this story, in your head you'll have to say Jammy, Grammy, Lammy, Puffer, Hupper, Berlin, Stereo, Rio, Leb, Kieb, the Monocle, the Stray Peg, the Grespin, the Crespin, the Spespin, the Vespin, the Whoopty Loop, the Bronco, Merry Christmas Lenoir instead. To sample, she's about to go running down the hill like this. Polly went running down the hill. If you're her friend, don't worry about it. But if you're not her friend, you have to read like this. Jammy, Grammy, Lammy, Fupper, Berlin, the Rio, Leb, Kiep, the Monica, the Stray Peg, the Grespin, the Crespin, the Spespin, the Vespin, the Whoopty Bronco, the Bronco, Merry Christmas Noir, went racing down the hill like a runaway marble. Most people in the Monic Bibber chose to be Polly's friend for the sake of time and convenience. Luckily though, Polly was a girl worth liking. She was a 9-year-old with lovely sandy hair, cat's daydream, and smile as happy as the Bank of England. She loved the sunshine splashing off her pretty teeth like diamonds in search of adventure. Polly went racing down the hill like a runaway marble to find Jake the dog before he fell victim to Mr. Gum's evil scheme. She didn't know exactly what the old man had in mind. She knew her big friend was in trouble. She ran past the old curiosity shop, and then she ran back because she was curious to see what was inside. She remembered the danger Jake was in and continued on her way. She ran past a dustbin filled with rubbish, and then another one filled with rubbish, then another one filled with rubbish, then another one filled with princesses. Princesses? There was something unusual about one of those dustbins. She had time to think. Keep on running. She ran past big trees, little trees, tiny little trees, and tiny little trees. So small they were more like pebbles. In fact, they were pebbles. She ran past the cat's ear, which was lying on the pavement, and the cat's nose and whiskers lying on the pavement, and the cat's body and tail and legs and eyes and claws, which were lying on the pavement. In fact, there was just one cat lying on the pavement. She ran like the wind and then got tired and just walked like a breeze. And then she sped up again because she was determined to save that tremendous dog. It was only after she'd been running for half an hour. Something quite important. She had absolutely no idea where Jake lived. And what's more, she was no longer in Lamonic Bibble. Wait, what? Oh no! She had come to the woods on the edge of the town. They were big and scary, full of witch shadows. The ancient trees looked down from on high, stern and forbidding. We are the trees, they seemed to whisper. You're not welcome in this place. We are the trees. A cold wind blew. Polly shivered, and she was certain that one of the flowers was snarling at her. Oh no! Oh no! She cried, sitting down on one of those massive toadstools you sometimes get in spooky woods. I don't know where I am, and that old Jake's facing the big shadows of his doggy life, and I don't know where to find him, and that flower's probably gonna eat me. With that, she burst into tears. Just then, an old man peered out the window of a secret cottage half hidden in the bushes behind her. Had noticed the cottage. I'm sure she wouldn't have either. That's the thing about secret cottages. They're secret. And here the chapter ends. You used to wonder if the old man was Mr. Gum, or if it was a different old man who was going to be nasty to Polly and laugh at her and stuff. She's going to be a good man. Yes. The chapter ends here with nothing. Polly was sitting outside the cottage of Friday O'Leary, a fantastic old fellow who knew the mysteries of time and space, things of that nature. And me not telling you that here's one of the heroes of his tale. Haha, I'm keeping that information to yourself. To wait till chapter 7 to find out. That is what is known as suspense. So the cottage is Friday O'Leary's cottage, and Friday O'Leary is a wise man who knows the mystery of time and space, and that he is one of the heroes in the book. So he's probably going to help Polly. Meanwhile, Mr. Gum was a mumbling and a grumbling his way right into town. He made his way past Billy William the Third's right royal meets. While he was tempted to go in, he knew that it would be a waste of time. He never find anything nice running in Billy William's butcher shop. That was one of the reasons Mr. Gum liked him, because it was a stinker. There was no customers with Billy William at that hour, and Mr. Gum could see him through the dirty window, playing a game of butcher's darts, which is exactly the same as normal darts, except the ball is a pig's head and the darts are old sheep's bones. William had invented it one day when he was drunk. Mr. Gum loved the butcher's darts, but there was no time to pop in and challenge Billy William to a match. He had a more important fish to fry, or rather to poison, or rather dog, not fish. He had a more important dog to poison. Oh no. Continued, crossed over Mrs. Lovely's wonderful land of sweets. Sweet shop at the other end of the road. I guess Mr. Gum did not enjoy going in there. A wonderland of sweet and goodness, and Mr. Gum was a filthy old devil who hated good things like sweets and birthday parties and kittens dressing clowns. He would much rather be a piano being demolished by illegal bulldozers than the Mozart concerto. Even like pop music, not even the Beatles. The only thing I liked about the Beatles was their name, because they sounded like insects and you could scare people with insects. So he stepped into the sweet shop as cautiously as a paper hat in a storm. There was with marvellous scent, poundly scent of cinnamon mingled with the odours of strawberry bombs and licorice whips. Gum felt sick. If he was being attacked by the forces of good. Boy, he loved eating sweets. Not before he turned into a bad man. Yet now he seemed to hear the voice of a boy he had once been, calling to him down the years. Where did it go, all the good? Where, oh where? Turn again, turn again. You can be good again, I know it. There's still time. Turn away, Mr. Gum. Turn again, Mr. Gum. He looked down and saw that voice was nodding his head after all, to a young boy who was standing next to him. Turn again, Mr. Gum. Boy offering him a fruit juice. A fruit chew. The boy's honest face frightened Mr. Gum more than anything else in the sweet shop. He took up twirling again. He started shoving the boy out of the door. Like it, I tell you, it makes me feel sick. At the moment, Miss Lovely came tumbling out of the back room, her kindly eyes and kindly nose and kindly ears. How can noses and ears be kindly? Wondered Mr. Gum, but it was true. Everything about Miss Lovely was kindly. She was kindly to disgraces like Mr. Gum, and he could not bear it. Want to break down and cry all the bad things away. Hello, you old witch! Give me some leather pound. Mrs. eyes sparkled. Yes, it is a beautiful day, Mr. Gum. Yes, indeed, she smiled. Measured a bag of lemonade powder. A lovely day about it, you old menace. Gum handing over some potatoes that he painted that looked like pound coins to save money. Right, see, as soon as the potatoes touched Miss Lovely's hands, they turned into real money. One of them turned into a jewel with a laughing face on it. Shabby was good, he growled, turning on his heel to see, in disgust. A pleasure to see you as always, Mr. Gum, beamed Miss Lovely. A man so thorned out with a little bag of lemonade between his elbows. I do hope you come again soon. Mr. Gum hardly noticed the walk home, mainly because he took a taxi. So it wasn't a walk home, it was a ride home by a taxi. He couldn't wait to get his plan to action. Very soon he was back in the smelly kitchen. He rubbed his hands together gleefully and danced a cruel jig, spiteful and she snotted all over the presents on Christmas morning. He opened the little bag and sprinkled all its contents, rotten and poisoned talcott, and gave them a quick sniff. "Jibbers!" he gasped, clutching his throat. "They smell of lemons and sunshine and friendship. I can hurry, please." Holding it along, Gum took the plate of dew and out into this very neat and tidy garden. Placed it right in the middle of the lawn. Jake was sure to see it. The day was very still. Not a single blade of grass was moving. Somewhere in the distance, a chicken barked. How can chickens bark? Mr. Gum settled back into his favourite broken chair, waited to see what would happen. Boop! Chapter 7. Friday O'Leary. So now we head back to Polly. It's just where we left her, having a good old cry out at the secret college. Who knows that old man watching her from the window? You already told us that it was Friday O'Leary, whoever Friday O'Leary is. You're going crazy from all suspense, haven't you? But you can breathe for a sigh of relief, because it's none other than Friday O'Leary, hero to this story. The next time someone says to you, "I hate old men," all old men are unpleasant and wicked, to agree with them, take a minute to think about this tale. All old men are unpleasant and wicked? That's nonsense, you'll say. It's not, said this somebody whose name is Anthony. Mr. Gum's an old man, and he's a dreadful old shocker. That's true, Anthony, you say. What about Billy William III, said Anthony smugly. He's as horrible as Brussels sprouts. Well, you got me there, he said. But Anthony, you're forgetting about Friday O'Leary, old man too, and he's an absolute winner. Oh, I'm so stupid. I forgot about Friday O'Leary, said Anthony. To pay in now £200 to see a glass of water balanced on a horse's back. That's how stupid I am. Just who was this O'Leary character anyway? Not a lot was known about him, because he was a mysterious sort of fellow. But I'll tell you what I know based on rumours, half-truths and downright fibs. Friday O'Leary was as old as the hills and as wise as the hills, but not quite as tall as the hills. Bald head was covered in thick curly hair, and he had the normal number of legs. How can his bald head, if he has a bald head, then it can't be covered in anything. So that one is a fib. He was the only person ever to saw a needle in a haystack. To be fair, it was a very large needle in a tiny haystack. His same numbers were green and his colour was 26. Wait, do you mean his favourite colour was green and his favourite number was 26? Sometimes he got his numbers and his colours mixed up. Oh, that makes sense. And he owned the world's smallest collection of stamps? None at all. Then I own the world's smallest collection of stamps? None at all. Oh, and one last thing. Occasionally, for reasons known only to himself, Friday O'Leary shouted, "The truth is a lemon meringue!" at the end of his sentences. Anyway, earlier that day, Friday had been sitting in his front room playing the piano. He was playing a song he had written himself called He Was Playing a Song He Had Written Himself. All about how he was playing a song he had written himself. He also written a song, but he wasn't playing that in the moment. But he wasn't playing that in the moment. He'd just come to the final lines. Telephone rang. Friday rang to get too late because it wasn't ringing the cottage. It was ringing Ethel Frampton's house about 100 miles away. It was his friend Mavis on the line. "Hello, Ethel," said Mavis. "How's things?" Back at the secret cottage, there was a sound of crying and sobbing, and then and general unhappy little girl noises. Friday rushed to the window. Friday rushed to the window, and up to those famous suspense that I mentioned before. Well, 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 he said. What have we here? A little girl in trouble. Then he opened the front door and stepped outside. Hello, he said to Polly. Are you all right? The truth is a lemon meringue. Who are you? Asked Polly. No, because her mother had never taught stage. It was full of this sort of advice. Brush your teeth twice a day. Wash your hands before meals. Don't cut your leg off with a bread knife. Most of all, never talk to which was bloomin' good advice. Especially with strangers the stranger before her now. They call me Mungo Bubbles. They call me Mungo Bubbles, said the stranger. But I don't know why, 'cause my name is Friday O'Leary. They call me Mungo Bubbles, said the stranger. But I don't know why, because my name is Friday O'Leary. And Polly knew it was all right, because her mother said all about the remarkable man once during the Friday O'Leary is a mysterious old man in a secret cottage near the woods. No one knows exactly where it is, not even the Prime Minister. You're in dire need. Find yourself there. He will help you with your problems. Friday O'Leary, I mean, not the Prime Minister. Then Polly had a thought. What if it wasn't really Friday O'Leary? Funny bad man pretending to be him. She remembered something else her mother told him. Friday O'Leary can juggle 5 ping pong balls and a banana, and he hardly ever drops them. So Polly asked the old man if he wouldn't mind juggling 5 ping pong balls and a banana for her. She had to find 5 ping pong balls and a banana in her skirt pocket, so Friday juggled them, and he hardly ever dropped them. And then Polly was convinced. The woods looked friendly and welcoming Polly. Beautiful all the nature was, and how she was probably not going to be eaten by a flower or anything. Friday O'Leary, I'm well glad to meet you. My name is Jammy Lammy. Jammy Grammy Lammy for her prefer. I think I'll just call you Polly, said Friday. How did he know her name? Chapter 8. Some things happen. Now I'll tell you what. Miss Friday O'Leary wasn't the only character in this story with a mysterious house. Nobody knew where Jake the dog lived neither. Because he lives on a farm and plays with all the other animals. Jonathan Ripples, the fattest man in town, rubbing his chins. What do you mean chins? Maybe he lives in the house of a rich man who feeds him bones made of gold, said the little girl called Peter. This is just a guess, said Martin. Perhaps he lives on the farm where he played on Havana. Suddenly, Jonathan Ripples pounced on Martin Laundrette and sat on him till he was wheezing for breath like a broken accordion. They'll teach you not to steal people's ideas, you skinny rubbisher, Jonathan Ripples. Come on, Peter, let's go for an ice cream. In any case, Jake lived on the farm. He didn't live in a rich man's house. Nobody knew where he lived except me. I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you for £1. No! Okay, 50p. No! Okay, 10p. No! Come on, 10p. It's not that much. Oh, go on. Oh, okay, you win. I'll tell you anyway. He lived in the woods up a horse chestnut tree. He had built a great big nest up there, filled with old leaves which kept him warm at night. Some men had left an old radio lying around the woods. Jake found it one day and taken it up to his nest, even though it didn't work. He was just a dog after all. When Polly was searching for Jake, that very dog had been in the grand old time. He larked around with the cuckoos, gone cuckoo with the larks, and bought some tinfoil off a magpie for a couple of horse chestnuts. After lunch, he decided to go into town to play in the garden or two. Chewing down the tree quicker than you can read a sentence, set off in a happy mood. Off he went, strolling along in the sunshine with not a care in the world, barking and burping, singing a song which went like this. Bark, 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 boof, bark, 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 woof. Soon Jake came to town, ran his garden with its lovely soft lawn, pond full of friendly ducks. Past the celebrated garden of the retired wrestler, Marvelous Marvin, with his rockery in the shape of wrestling. He passed Beanie McLeaning's garden, where everything rhymed and the flowers grew like towers. But there was only one garden Jake fancied romping in today, and that was Mr. Gum's. Oh no! On he went with his great furry legs, came to the high street, watching secretly from behind his greasy window. Billy William laughed to think of the nasty surprise that awaits suspecting hound. It's funny, he chuckled to himself as Jake walked down the road and out of sight. At last Jake came to the spiky fence that surrounded Mr. Gum's dirty house. It might have kept other dogs out, but Jake was one of those magnificent beasts who know not fear nor hesitation nor how to scramble eggs properly. So they were bouncing around, and in no time at all he was over it. Still not in no time at all. Of course it took some time, but not much. Then in the garden, in a shower of dirt and flowers, and he barked his welcoming bark to let all his garden friends know he had arrived. Come bark went like this. Bark! As opposed to his normal bark went like this. Bark! They was all recognized Jake's welcoming bark because it was so different from his normal one. The moles popped out of their mole holes, the squirrels popped out of the squirrel holes, the cats popped out of their cat holes. Squirrels don't have squirrel holes, cats don't have cat holes. The Gum kitchen, the toast up, Mr. Gum trying to escape, and he scoffed up greedily. What's going on? He scowled, but then sighed a little hurriedly. I bet it's him, he exclaimed, spitting toast everywhere. I bet it's that flea-bag dog. Very carefully, Mr. Gum tiptoed over to the kitchen, and the secret smiling with his unfriendly eyes. Jake was racing excitedly around the lawn, chasing his own tail. Outside, the caterpillars was so happy to see him, immediately metamorphosed into a butterfly. Caterpillars were so happy that they metamorphosed into a donkey. How can a caterpillar have a metamorphosis into a donkey? The birds came swooping out of their trees, chirping like good uns, and the sun seemed to do magic tricks in the sky. The whole thing seen unfolding from behind, hating all the joy that the world was having. Come on, you meddler, he said under his bad breath. Come on, eat them hearts. Jake suddenly stopped barking. His nose twitched. Sniffed the scent of lemonade powder. The townsfolk always putting out delicious treats, so he thought his luck was in. He bounded out to the place of calm. It's in the middle of the lawn. Oh no! Other animals froze in horror. The big dog opened his mouth. One of the dogs let out a warning squeak, but it only got as far as the squawk. It was too late. Jake's doggy jaws had already closed around the heart. Chew, chew, chew. He chewed it up. So. He swallowed it out. Go for another. He went for another heart. But before he could give another bite, he gave a sad wolf and fell over on his side, his big furry belly moving rapidly in and out. Suddenly, the sun was covered up by a big grey dirty cloud the size of Sweden. Cousin Mr. Gum was laughing like a robber. He poisoned him. Mr. Gum poisoned Jake. Oh no. Chapter 9. Polly and Friday ride into town. Back at the college, Polly was telling Friday O'Leary all about the danger it was in, listening carefully, saying things like, yes, I see, and yes, I see. Finally, Polly's face looked anxiously at her new friend, some thought, twirling an imaginary mustache. Lost in thought, twirling an imaginary mustache, which he thought made him look like a detective. Polly felt sure that he was working on a brilliant plan. Tell me, Polly. Mrs. laughed. Fancy a game of tennis? Tennis? Said Polly. Wow, Jake, Surprised exclamation! I'd forgotten all about that, said Friday. There's no time to lose. With that, he disappeared into the cottage and slammed the front door shut. 5 minutes later, the door was flung open again. Friday, just as a tense bit. Here, said handing Polly a racket. Sir, first, because you're the guest. But Mr. O'Leary, said Polly as patiently as possible, we've got to save that big dog Jake, like I've told you millions of times just now. Oh yeah, said Friday. Sorry, let's go. And Tennis Racket jumped onto his motorbike, kick-started the engine, and zoomed off like the devil himself. But a good devil, not an evil one. There's a good devil. Hey, shouted Polly, aren't you forgetting something? Oops, said Friday, and turned to pick her up. Polly climbed onto the sidecar and strapped her helmet. Hold on tight. The truth is a lemon meringue, shouted Friday, and away they went. It was a long ride into town. They passed hills and lakes and rivers and meadows and Scotland. Scotland! Oops, said Friday, wrong way. And off they bolted in the opposite direction. Hey, Polly, shouted Friday over the noise of the engine. Do you mean earlier when you said that Jake had once saved your life? How do you know I said that? Said Polly. There was no one around when the words came out of my lips. It's all in this book I'm reading, said Friday, pulling a copy of A Bad Man, Mr. Gum from his pocket. Immensely into 5. Wait, what? They have the book that I'm reading right now. So Friday O'Leary in the book has the book that I'm reading right now, but he is in it. That's confusing. Polly's voice seemed excited and her hair grew longer. Maybe says what does gonna happen to Big Jake in there? She said, don't talk of what might be in the future, little miss. On Friday, 'tis unwise. Oh, please, let's look in that book. Sounded so upset that Friday stopped the motorbike at once. Okay, he said, opening the book, the same page that you are reading right now. So to page 67, but no sooner as they said, 'tis unwise, that Polly read those very words off the on the page. As Polly reading about herself, the feeling came over her. It felt like driving in a swimming pool full of ice in complete darkness. Only the swimming pool was inside the mirror. The whole thing was a dream in someone's head. Felt a bit like that. It's hard to describe. Shaking hands, Friday turned to the last chapter, only to find that the pages were completely blank. The future hasn't been written yet, Friday, starting up the bike again. It is not for us to know. Of course it hasn't been written. Of course the future hadn't been written yet. 'Twas unwise, said Polly. Hey, I wanted to say that, complained Friday, revving the engine. Don't steal my lines. Anyway, how did Jake save your life? Oh, it was the usual sort of thing, said Polly, as they zoomed off once more. He rescued me from a burning centipede. A burning centipede? Polly and Friday reached home, roaring and bumping down the high street when they spotted Billy William III. How Friday was a force for good. William jumped out of his shop and began pegging filthy old cuts of meat in their direction. Ha ha! He laughed. Out Friday swerved to avoid a cascade of grey hamburgers, just like butcher's darts. A bucket of tripe and sloshed it across the road. Take that, you force for good, he shouted wildly. Hold tight, Polly, yelled Friday as the bike skidding in the slippery mess. Tripe attack! Friday steered for his life, but it was no use. It all got gooed up with tripe, and before you know it, he and Polly were thrown onto the pavement. They lay there helplessly at Billy William advanced with a sack of kidneys. Is this the end? Cried Friday. Woe is me! At that moment something amazing happened. A gobstopper by the size of a cannonball rolled down the street, followed by another one even bigger than the first. Another. All of them were hurling with deadly accuracy toward Billy William, being hurled by none other than the wonderful son of Miss Lovely. No! Shouted Billy William. In desperation, he threw a kidney at her, missed by miles, and landed in a tree. Miss Lovely didn't bat an eyelid. On she came down the high street, humming a pretty tune about the waterfall and rolling An enormous, brightly coloured gobstopper was before her. He was filled with him, hopped and dodged and swore like a footballer. But there were too many, and down he went. "The woman's amazing," he said, his eyes shining with admiration and tripe. Come on, Friday. Jake needs us," said Polly, jumping back into the sidecar. "Miss Lovely can sort this one out." Friday jumped to the back of the bike. Mike hit the gas enough. They ran down the road, the battle still raging behind them. "I made that happen," said Friday excitedly as they gone along. "I magicked it so that Miss Lovely would appear just the right moment and save us. Actually, I'd done nothing of the sort, but wanted to keep Polly's morale up after those terrible scenes. There was a tiny boastful streak in him which he couldn't help, because he was the rest of the time. Two of them rode on in silence as soon as they came to the high white fence that surrounded Mr. Gum's garden. Chapter 10. Jake's Darkest Hour. Just like Jake, that fence called Polly and Friday no trouble at all. They just farted over it like blackbirds. "More meddlers!" cried Mr. Gum, tossing the angry fairy who was back with a vengeance, and of course a frying pan. "Who needs it?" Motorbike screeched to hold in front of the oak tree. He jumped out of the sidecar and ran to Jake alone, surrounded by his loyal animal friends. The moles shook their heads sadly. A squirrel blew his nose on a butterfly. The cats looked close to tears, for Jake was the only dog they had ever loved. Polly gasped when she saw him. The once splendid beast looked weak as a baby. His fur lost its shine, and his eyes were rolled towards the heavens. It was a mere shadow of his former self, and the shadow was a mere shadow of his former self's shadow. "Don't you die on us, Jake!" she sobbed, throwing her arms around him. "You're too fat and good to die!" Jake's only reply was a feeble little woof, which sounded like a door closing. "If it hadn't been for that butcher, we would have reached him in time." "Time?" said Friday mysteriously. "What is time, little miss?" "'Tis unwise to talk about might have been and what might have not. 'Tis unwise." Polly was beginning to think that Friday was a pretty rubbish hero. She had other things to worry about. "What are we gonna do?" she wailed. "You wait and everything will turn out fine," tapping his nose widely. But actually he didn't have a clue what to do. Then Mr. Gum raced up, the fairy at his heels. "No use, Larry!" "Oh, Larry!" cried Mr. Gum like the world's most evil seagull. "That dog will never bother no one again. We can still save him!" said Polly fiercely. "Horrible little girl. Look at this," said shirt which was written "Champion Expert Dog Poisoner." "That doesn't mean nothing," said Polly. "You just read them words yourself in ketchup." Then that shut up Mr. Gum for a minute, because it was true. Said Friday. Mr. Friday. He don't investigate Jake, even though he's secretly a bit scared of dogs. He stood up, his imaginary detective mustache back in all its glory. "Tell me, Gummy, me boy," twirling his invisible mustache cunningly, "the one thing that can cure that big whopper of a dog here." "Why, you know as well as I do, you crazy turkey," chuckled Mr. Gum. "Think what could bring a dog back from the brink of tears is a man reunited with his long-lost brother." Back from the brink is a tears of a man reunited with his long-lost brother. It's not going to happen now, is it? Said Friday, wagging the finger. Said Friday grandly, finger like he imagined the detective would. "The tears of a man reunited with his long-lost brother, you say? Well, guess what, Mr. Gum? You are my long-lost brother, and I have a picture of us together when we were small, and when you grew older, you went over to the dark side and became a bad man and forgot all about me, your brother, through the force for good, and now look at what you've been reduced to, poisoning a happy bouncer of a dog to avoid racking from a fairy like the cowardly little old thing you become. Tell you this amazing information, the inside you is bursting forth, and you're filled with love and compassion at dinner, and you cannot help but shed tears all over the blooming dog and wake it up from his terrible sleep. The truth is a lemon meringue! Triumphantly had Mr. Gum a battered photograph from the old days, when he was but a lad, standing next to another boy. The other boy is you, said Frank. Bring on those tears. Gasped, and Polly clapped her hands together in delight. He's Friday O'Leary is Mr. Gum's brother? Is he really Gum O'Leary? Gum peered closely at the photo. Nah, that ain't me, he said. We ain't long-lost brothers at all, you widow. Oh, said Friday. He turned to Polly miserably, his imaginary moustache drooping like an imaginary weeping willow. Well, little miss, said Tori. I said softly. I did my best. Oh, well. And it was all very quiet, like the sad bit of the story. No birds sang at that unhappy hour, no wind stirred. For once, even the angry fairy was silent. Sound was Jake's breathing in and out, weaker at each time. Goodbye, Jake, sniffed Polly, her head in his fur. You was a good old boy, you was. Something tapped her on the shoulder. A little boy she'd never seen before. Somehow, though, Polly felt as if she'd known him all her life. A great piece of warmth spread through her, and it's a nightmare from the sweet shop. Gum exclaimed. How did he get there? Turn again, Mr. Gum. Boy, with his beautiful, honest face, come back to where his hands raised as to ward off a ghost. I don't like it one bit, he said in a quivering voice. Appearing out of nowhere and talking of turning again. I don't like it. I know you can be good again, offering him another fruit chew. That was enough for Mr. Gum. He gave a terrified yelp, clambered over the fence, and scooted off down the road, the boy's words still ringing in his ear. Turned back to Polly. Child, he said, even though he was no older than she was, listen carefully. Must step into Mr. Gum's house. Look inside the sailor chest which stands in the front hall. It's full of magic chocolate with fantastic powers. He whispered, do not tarry, but bring as much as you can. Polly didn't wait to hear any more, but sit in the house, where stood the chest. It was the only beautiful thing in that lily, showing with hope and furniture polish. She threw the lid open, looked inside, and found nothing at all. The chest was completely empty. What? Chapter 11. How it all turned out. It had been too long. Chocolate had turned to dust or been eaten by sailors. The girl would have given up right then and sunk to her knees in despair on Mr. Gum's yuck carpet. It wasn't any other girl. She was Polly. Down the dark depths of that chest she climbed, much larger than it looked from the outside, and smelled of old sea adventures, the water business. Rambled across the wooden floor and lost in darkness, crying, hardly even remember what she was looking at for. She was tarrying, even though she didn't really know what that meant. Well, I don't care, she sobbed. I'll tarry forever if that's what it takes to save Big Jake. And what's more, just then Polly's hands closed on something small, hidden right at the back, the very back, pumping like one of those things you used to blow up balloons. She brought it into light. In her palm lay a single chocolate shaped with a dolphin, the last piece of Nathaniel's surname's treasure from that Tuesday long ago. She seemed to wink, but it could have been a trick of the light rather than a trick of confectionery. Last hope chocolate, said Polly, out the chest as fast as she could. Just hope you're enough to save Big Jake. You've done well, child, little boy, when she returned. Let's see if the legends are true. Then Polly held Jake's throat open and tenderly stuffed the chocolate down. Just as soon as it went on his tongue, turned into a real dolphin or silvery blue and went sliding down his throat doing whistling noises. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jake's eyes flickered open and he uttered the little bark. So good so he did another one, but louder and stronger than the first. With that second bark, the day was saved and the bad stuff was at an end. This appeared in a buff blue slope that smelled like bacon and eggs, and the slum doing its magic tricks again, even better than once. Then before, with real cars this time. The moles bounced up and down with glee and the butterflies punched their little fists into the air with triumph. Jake got up and did a victory lap around the garden to show he was back for good. The victory licked Polly's face with his big doggy tongue, till she was giggling like a werewolf. No ordinary lad, said Friday, turning to the boy. Why, you really? I'm the spirit of the rainbow, said the boy, and it's my job to make the world glow with happy clouds so we can live peacefully together. Spirit! Yelled the woman's voice from next door. Your tea's ready! Sorry, gotta go, or my mum will kill me, said the spirit of the rainbow, and he ran off for his tea. Well, I'll tell you what. That day was brilliant. Friday and Molly marched into town on Jake's broad back, and all the animals danced capers around them. Sure puked from all the excitement, and everybody laughed. Paid a few up one nostril and trumpet up the other, and all the good people of the Molly came out and cheered, waved flags, and ate feasts. Jonathan Ripples ate an entire feast by himself and spent most of the next day in bed. Oh, and on marched the joyful procession, getting bigger all the while and heading towards Miss Lovely's wonderful land of sweets. But as they were crossing the town square, Lovely herself ran up to greet the heroes. Apart from chicken liver hanging from one arm, the courageous woman was fully recovered from wars against Billy William III. When he saw Mrs. Lovely, his went all shiny with admiration once again. Feeling swept over him like rocket ship. He got on one knee in the middle of the town square. Then he got on 2 knees. Then he got on 3 knees. I thought they said he had a normal amount of legs, which hardly anyone else in the world can do. Miss Lovely, said Friday through a megaphone so everyone could hear. You are the best! Do you fancy getting married? The crowd held its breath. And Mole did a dramatic drum roll with a drum and bread roll. All right, said Mr. Lovely. I wasn't doing anything this weekend anyway. The whole town erupted with the biggest cheer ever. Whoa! The butterflies rained down like confetti, and Jake did a massive happy bark as if he'd stood exactly what was going on. She was barking a twig she just noticed, but there you go. It's only a dog after all. Well, that's that then, Friday. Let's get in on this feasting action. Had a thought. Where's that old Mr. Gum got to? She said. Probably off getting drunk with Billy William, guessed Friday. Right, that's exactly what those two were up to, hating the world and falling over from beer. But do you think he'll be back? Said Polly. Friday looked mysterious. Who can say what will be, Miss Little Miss? She said. 'Tis unwise, Miss Monty, said Miss Lovely. Friday didn't even mind that she had stolen his line, because he was crazy in love and there was marrying to be done. So life went on in the peaceful town in the money bit. Everyone got on with their business. Friday married Mrs. Lovely, and then when they invited Polly over for Sunday roast, and occasionally Friday did a few Sunday boasts because that tiny boastful streak in him, because he was the rest of the time, but nobody minded. To come and Billy William went in for quite a while, and Martin Laundrette apologized to Jonathan Ripples, and Jake the dog played happily in the garden all summer long. Nothing much ever happened. The sun went down over the mountains. The end. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how come the story's ended, but there's all these extra pages to back? I bet there's a secret bonus story hidden away somewhere. Forget it. The rest of these pages are just blank, empty space with nothing written on them. Not a secret bonus story. There's probably a secret bonus story. He just doesn't want us to read it. Let's keep going. So just put this book down right now. It's over. Go and hassle your mum for a biscuit or something. No. Stop looking for a secret bonus story. There isn't one. Just accept it. Then why are you writing on this blank empty space? See? Blank empty space. That's all. The rest of this is just blank empty space. Blank empty space. Blank empty space. The rest of this book is just blank empty space. Tra la 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 la. Are you still here? Look, I'm not going to tell you it again. There is no secret bonus story. This is the end of the book. The end. Game over. Go home. Bye-bye. The secret bonus story must be here. Secret bonus story! Friday O'Leary explains the universe. One day, Polly and Friday were strolling down by the Monic River where the water rushes grow. It was one of them brilliant afternoons with the sun shining and there's no school because it's burnt out Saturday or something. And there's hardly any wasps to muck things up. Friday, said Polly thoughtfully, I'm only a little girl and that. And I don't know nothing about the universe and stuff. Can you help me out with your wisdoms? I'm glad you asked me that, said Friday. Those are my specialist subjects, and I'm the winner of quizzes, and that's concerned. But let us sit beneath the apple tree in the old meadow yonder, for that's the best place to hear my famous teachings. So they yondered off to the old meadow, and they sat themselves down beneath the apple tree, and there Friday began spreading his tremendous knowledge. A million years ago, before your uncle was born, he began, a tiny piece of cheese was floating in the middle of space, when suddenly everything went crazy. Did a big plan and went flying everywhere like an old lady in a jumble sale. For a minute or two, everything smelled of cheese. Then suddenly planet Earth appeared because scientific chemicals, and the next thing you know, a creature started growing in the sea. What sort of a creature? Asked Polly. A grey one with teeth and a necklace, replied Friday, nodding wisely. Soon got bored of just swimming around all day and started eating plants and dirt. One day, no one knows why, it turned to woolly mammoth got stuck in ice. Cavemen appeared. Rome fell down in an earthquake. Shakespeare invented writing and football. Everyone died of the plague. A bloke discovered America under a bush. Here we all are today in the modern times, walking up with computers up our noses. I see, said Paul. And what about all them other planets, like Mars and Jupiter and Venus? Friday's only other answer was a happy snore. Spreading knowledge is a tiring business, and besides, it was very comfortable beneath the apple tree. As Polly walked home, and she thought about how lucky she was, because some children haven't got teachers at the universe like Friday to do wisdoms on them. So how are they going to learn about things properly? It's a shame. That's what I said. And as for the teacher of the universe himself, he spent the rest of the afternoon sleeping in the meadow, where he woke up a horse was licking his arm. The end. The real end. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe for more books, scratch, and stories.